The following podcast is an enticing media production.
Where the Nell have you been? Join us for conversation about life, business, and everything in between. Welcome to What the Nell, where we've got stories to tell. Here's your host, Nell Tice.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of the What the Nell podcast with yours truly, Nell Tice. I am super excited. I know I always say I'm super excited, but I actually am really excited for my guest today because something tells me he's going to have an amazing story for you guys. So my guest is Mike Boblett, who is a seasoned ad strategist with over 7 years of experience managing campaigns for Meta, Google, TikTok, and CTV, just to name a few. By day, he works full-time at a top New York City agency, but by night and very early mornings, he's building The Ad Man, a growing client-focused business built on transparency and a, quote, grow first, pay later model. We'll get to that later. He is a father of 3, doing deliveries to support the dream. Mike brings realness, resilience, and relentless drive to everything he does. Welcome, Mike, to the podcast.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome, of course. So I'm super intrigued. I know you probably have a story that will definitely hit with a lot of people that are thinking about starting their own thing. Maybe they're scared, but I gotta know, like, you're juggling a lot of stuff. Like, what led to the double life? Like, where did this all begin? How did you decide to start your own thing while working at the agency? Like, give us all the details.
Yeah. So I guess I could go back a little bit farther than that. I was in the real estate industry. And that's when I started learning how to do ads for myself. And then I got the idea that I could be doing it for other people. So that's when I started my agency, left the real estate industry and just went full-time into that, getting on new clients, building out campaigns. And I was doing Uber, DoorDash, that sort of stuff on the side to supplement income in between.
Sure.
And everything was going pretty good. I was building that out. And actually my Facebook account got compromised, lost a bunch of ad accounts that got taken over. It was a big mess. Always have 2-factor authentication on. Learned that.
Good tip.
That kind of ruined everything, all the momentum that I had going when I first initially launched, lost a bunch of clients and stuff. So that's when I got the agency job. And really it was kind of a blessing because it provided stability for my family, but I was also able to manage higher scale campaigns, more complex campaigns, bigger budgets. So I really grew as an advertiser as well. And I've been there the last 3 years. It's been amazing, expanded into CTV. And recently I had this pull to get my own thing going again. And to be real, we always want more money, you know? So full-time job and more freedom, time, money, everything, of course. So yeah, still just kind of doing the deliveries in between to make ends meet, but also trying to launch everything. So yeah, a lot going on.
We'll get to how you manage time later on, but I got to know, like, when do you sleep? Do you at all?
Yeah, I feel like I sleep really good. Solid.
Good.
6 to 8 hours every night, but try to maximize everything in between.
Yeah, of course. So you've got this buy or grow first, pay later model, obviously probably taken from the buy now, pay later terminology. So tell us about that. Like, how does that work? Can you break that down for us?
Yeah. So, typical ad agency usually charges a retainer up front, and usually that's pretty large. So, I mean, that's a big ticket to even get in the door to ad management if you want an agency to manage them for you. I'm sure you're familiar, in the industry that you're in. I thought I want to be able to help out everybody. And I know what it's like when you get started running ads and how hard it can be and how unsure you are, but you want to have somebody that they know what they're doing. So I wanted to make it accessible to kind of everybody and be able to help the smaller guys and the startups to where they can see some revenue first. So what I did was I kind of switched it and, I went through a lot of pricing models trying to figure out what was right, to flat rate to performance based on percentage of revenue and all different kinds. And this just seems to be what the consumers want the most, what the business owners want the most. And the way I do it is when we start working together, I'll put together your campaigns. You're responsible for ad spend, but I don't invoice you until the end of the first calendar month. And then that invoice isn't even due until the next calendar month. So if you start on the first, you can run for up to 60 days before you ever even have to pay an invoice.
That's crazy. Considering, I mean, yeah, your typical agency would absolutely want something up front. So, I mean, how does this work business-wise? I mean, what if somebody doesn't, I'm hypothetically, what if somebody isn't seeing the revenue that they really want to from the ads? Like, how does this work for you business-wise?
Yeah, so it's obviously all the risk is on my side because, if I don't produce results and they're not happy, there's a good chance that they're not going to pay me, even when I do send that invoice. And I'm aware of that. And I'm okay with that because ideally, I'm confident in my skills and I want them to pay me out of the profit anyways. So if it's not working and it's just not producing results, I most likely aren't going to charge them anyways for my fee. They're already going to be out the ad spend. And then it's a loss on my time. But I feel that it's worth that risk on my end because I do build the long-term relationship with these clients and it's worth the risk up front for me.
That's amazing. I mean, that's truly what it really is about, is that relationship building piece. And I mean, that takes you so far for sure. So how has this model helped your relationships with your clients? How does it help it versus a typical agency model where they would charge you up front? So yeah, I guess what are the benefits totally for those listening and watching?
Yeah, so there's kind of short-term and long-term benefits. The short-term obviously is that you don't have to pay me for up to 60 days. So during that 60 days, your ads are running and hopefully making money. So you're just making profit and then you're going to pay me out of the profit. Of course, you have the ad spend, but if you have an established ad account, you can get invoiced every 30 days from those platforms as well. So it gives you a little bit of runway to bring in money before you have to put it out. And I find that helps most business owners, especially ease them in the risk in their mind in jumping to run some ads.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Have you faced any skepticism around this model? It's very, it's pretty unusual. Have you faced skepticism from whether it be clients or other ad agencies?
Not a ton yet. I really just started pushing it out in the last couple of months. I found that it's led to a lot more conversations in my cold outreach. That's for sure. And that's how I know that I've found a winner. I'm like, okay, it's creating a lot more conversation. But I haven't really received much pushback. As far as other agencies and stuff, it's actually helped me get some white label partnerships as well. So, like a more organic media agency that does organic management, they'll offer my service as a white label because it works for them as well with that model.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I like that. I mean, it definitely works for, your clients as small business owners. And obviously, when you form that relationship with a media company where you could actually white label for them, that helps that for sure as well, because likely they're another small business that could use that short-term benefit of not paying you right up front. So, okay, let's shift a little bit into the personal side of things. So you're working full time, you're raising 3 kids. So you've got to have hard days, right? We all have hard days. How do you find the motivation? Like, what's your why? Why do you keep going? How do you keep going on the hard days? Are you there? Are you there?
I think I'm back now. It was...
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I had a hard time there for a second.
Did you hear that?
I missed that question.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I'll start again. Okay. So shifting more towards the personal side of things, you're working full time, you're building the ad man, you're raising 3 kids. Obviously, you have hard days. Everybody has hard days, but specifically with navigating all of these things, like, what is your why? What is your motivation? How do you keep going when those days get really hard?
Yeah, definitely. So my life kind of got flipped upside down a few months ago, actually. My wife and kids left and she moved in with her mom. So we're going through the process of divorce right now. And I mean, that's definitely the hardest thing I've ever gone through. The kids moved out of the area, so I haven't been around them super consistently, which is I'll be moving here in a couple months to be around them. But that's definitely been the hardest. But it's also been a huge wake-up call just to look at myself, my life, and I've really taken it as a time to grow personally. And that's turned into also professionally, but just being really intentional in everything that I do and coming from a place of love and kindness and trying to help as many people as I can. But
Sure.
yeah, I guess I kind of forgot what the initial question was.
Just like, how do you keep going on the hard days?
Yeah, just remembering my kids and proving to them that you can go through anything and still come out stronger on the other side. And no matter what, I'm always going to be there for them. And I mean, really, they're what keeps me going for sure.
Yeah. How old are your kids?
They're 5, 2, and 6 months.
Oh, my goodness, my friend. I'm sorry that you're going through all of that. And, it absolutely is true. Whatever you're going through, you can come out on the other side and you'll come out stronger, better for it. But I know, when it's so fresh, it's so difficult. But your story definitely has the ability to help inspire somebody else that might be going through a similar situation or something they can at least relate to. I know I just had a conversation with another podcaster recently who is going through a similar situation. It's so fresh, like the beginning of the year. And you can see the pain, and there's so much. He's trying to build something and he's doing the podcast and he's trying to, figure out the scheduling and all the things associated with all of those changes at the same time. And you can tell it's just wearing, but there's no reason or lack of motivation for stopping and quitting what he's doing, which is amazing. And I love when people are able to share that. And that's also very personal. So, thank you for sharing that with people for sure. So I know that, we said we were going to come back to the time management piece. I got to know. So I'm a fan of time blocking things because that's how I work. So I give 2 hours for this, 2 hours for that. How do you manage your time with the kids and the full-time job and building this? What is it? Okay. First question is, what does a typical day look like for you?
Yeah, so it's a little different right now because, the kids aren't here and stuff. So it's like I have all the time now. Mm-hmm. But I guess a typical day now, I wake up, I do a morning routine where I do some journaling and some vision statement, write out a vision statement, stuff like that. And then, get my coffee, start looking at some ad performance from the day before, get all caught up on that. And then my full-time job, I work New York hours, but live in Boise. So I start at 7 a.m. So my full-time job starts earlier in the day, which is nice. It allows me to pack in more. So I'm done with that by 2:30. But in between, I work remote and, I have calls and stuff, but I'm able to do some other stuff in between, as far as cold outreach for the business or putting content together and scheduling it out and stuff like that. I'm able to do a little bit of both while I'm at my full-time job. So I'm kind of stacking it there. But then usually right when I get off of my full-time job, if I don't have any calls or anything else, I'll just go straight to doing deliveries and do deliveries until 9 or 10 o'clock at night, come home and just kind of do it all over again.
Wow, that's amazing. I had another question, but that completely just escaped me. I mean, that's amazing. That takes some motivation for sure. Yeah, I'm really trying to think of what that question was. I wanted to come back to because I thought it was a good one. Yeah, so okay, you work New York City hours, Boise, so obviously that definitely helps you with the work piece. I'm really trying to think of that question. It's not coming back to me. All right. Well, we'll come back if it does. So you've talked about finding power and inconsistency and clarity. Oh, now it just came back to me. Of course. Are there any tools? So you said you like to create content sometimes in that time or get some calls done. Are there any productivity hacks or tools that you find very useful in helping you create that content or make those calls more efficiently?
Yeah. I mean, I'd say ChatGPT. I'm sure everybody uses it, but I'm in there constantly. It's my little assistant. It helps me with everything. If I need to plan out my content, I come up with the ideas, or it'll help me come up with ideas. But I have a huge list of topics that I just kind of pull from. I'll say, okay, I want to do 7 days worth of content, one video, one static for each day. Let's plan these out, and it'll kind of give me, these are the topics I want. It'll give me a rough video script. I don't always follow it exactly, but, something to get my mind going when I hit the record button, so I'm not just blank. But
Sure.
yeah, and then I use Canva for most static creative. I use CapCut to add captions onto videos. I used to use like video editing software, but I find that I could do most of it through Canva or CapCut now. So I don't do anything like too crazy, like anything
Yeah.
super high
Yeah.
level for our clients. But
Sure. Yeah, Canva has really come a long way in the tools that they offer for you to like create a complete content package, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like I used to have to create some sort of a video in Canva with like the text, like animations and effects and things like that, and then take it into my editing software and complete the rest of the edits there. But Canva
Right.
pretty much has a built-in video editor now. So a lot of these programs and softwares do for sure. So that definitely helps. So yeah, I know a lot of people out there listening are probably like, how's he creating content and doing all this stuff with all these jobs and everything? So that's pretty cool. So you've talked about finding power in consistency and clarity. What does that look like for you? What exactly does that mean?
So I think the biggest thing by that is both kind of in the same thing is a vision statement. And I've put some together before, but never quite this detailed. And I actually got it off of an Ed Milet podcast at the beginning of the year. It was one that he laid out how he would recommend doing your vision statement. And I plugged everything in exactly, to the deep why of the, freedom financially and time to spend time with the kids and, all the details. And it's like 2 pages and I write it out every day by hand. I don't type it. That's what he recommended doing. And I've been doing that for 3 months now and I haven't memorized. I don't even have to read it off my phone when I write it anymore. And I think that has just helped me keep my vision, my goals at the forefront all the time, every day to start my day. And that's really given me that clarity and just consistency by doing it every day and keeping it top of mind.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. I know a lot of people do journal and things like that. And for whatever reason, I had tried that at one point. I couldn't stick with it. And it's crazy because when I was a kid, I used to write in a diary. And it was like clockwork every day. I would just write in my diary. But for some reason, I can't find that motivation to do it. And maybe it's a morning thing. I don't know. But so, I mean, kudos to you for keeping that going. And yeah, that consistency piece is really hard for a lot of people. I know, especially in the podcasting world, most podcasts don't make it past episode 8. And
Right.
because it's hard. I mean, first of all, it's hard to do it, but it's hard to keep that consistency up, especially when there are so many little pieces required to actually doing it and getting an episode out there. And yeah, a lot of people can, if you have guests on, if somebody cancels, then all of a sudden maybe they're like, oh no, I don't have a topic. I don't have something to record. So I'm just not going to release an episode. And, we know that's not how exactly to handle it, but it gets you, just even having that vision statement every day or journaling every day, gets you in that mindset and that routine of creating consistency and understanding how important it really is. So kudos to you for that. How has building the ad man changed how you see yourself, maybe professionally and personally?
Yeah, more recently, I would say since I've gotten really dialed in on everything and I've really been consistent with the outreach and everything, it's just shown me that truly anything is possible. I was stuck thinking that it was, hard to bring in clients, and of course it can be, which is ironic because that's what I do is I bring in business for other businesses. But it can be tough. But when you really stay consistent and focused, and if you say you're going to send 50 DMs that day, send them and do it every time. And when you do, you actually see results. I think that's the biggest thing for me, is just actually putting in the work and executing. That's the biggest difference.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite things, and it's so simple. When somebody says they're going to do something, just follow through and do it, and do the freaking work. And I love that. And your other thing is zero excuses, which I absolutely love that too, because to me, there are no excuses. But, I get told all the time, well, you don't have kids and you don't this and that, blah, blah, blah. But, if you truly want something, and you say you want it, and you say you're going to do it, go out and do it. Zero excuses.
Right. Yeah. Do you follow Alex Hormozy and his wife, Layla?
I follow them loosely, I should say.
Okay. Yeah. Her saying, I don't know if you cuss on here. Oh, her sayings, fuck your mood, follow the plan. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, I'm going to have to follow her. Yeah. I'm going to have to follow her a little more hard, I think. But yeah, no, that's perfect, because how else are you going to get anything done that you really want to do?
Exactly.
So, yeah. So what is something that you've learned about yourself through this journey that has surprised you?
Maybe that I'm not as shy and reserved as I thought, that I can get out of my shell and put myself out there, and it's okay.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. Because you don't truly understand the power of what you can actually do until you have to do it.
Right. Yeah, you always think you can't, huge. But you can. You just got to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So where do you see the Ad Man in 1 to 2 years? What's your vision for the Ad Man?
My vision for the Ad Man, well, we haven't talked about this. I also have an Ad Man Academy where I teach business owners hands-on how to put their own campaigns together. So ideally, I'd like to build out both of these. So I'd like to have 20 clients for the Ad Man that I'm working with consistently, and then 100 Academy students in the Ad Man Academy.
Nice, nice. So yeah, and we'll go over, how to get in touch with you and contact, and maybe how to join the Academy then, of course. But that's really cool. I love that, you have basically the done for you option, which is the Ad Man, but for entrepreneurs or business owners that are like, you know what, I got this, I can do it. You have the Academy for them. So that's pretty awesome. I love that. So for someone who might be feeling stuck in their day job, or they're afraid to, they know they want to do the thing, they want to build their own business, what would you say to them?
I would say, of course, find what you're passionate about, but make sure you carve out the time for it, no matter when that is. If it's before your work day, get up an hour early, get up at 5 a.m. instead of 6. Stay up a little bit later, maybe instead of watching TV, go in the office and work on your little project. Just, carve out the time and really give it the love that it needs, because that's how it's going to grow.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. It needs love, tender, loving care,
Yeah.
Absolutely. So like I'd mentioned, I want to make sure that we touch on all of the places to get a hold of you if people want the done for you option. But tell us about the Academy. How can people join? What can they expect in the Academy?
Yeah, so the Academy, you can join through my website. Well, we set up a call first, and then I'll set it up from there. But that's MikeTheAdmin.com. But yeah, so we go live once a week. Right now, I guess I should back up. There's a monthly membership and a lifetime membership. So the monthly membership is $98 a month. Lifetime is $498. And there's also a Facebook group, so everybody can kind of collaborate, bounce ideas off of each other. And we go live once a week and go over one of the platforms. So one week we'd focus on Meta, next week on Google, another on TikTok, and then maybe another on GA4 or even content creation, something like that.
Sure.
Kind of whatever everybody's needing at the time, depending on who's in the course. But yeah, and the whole idea is just to give you the confidence to be able to build out your own campaign. And we kind of walk through everything together, analyze the results as they come in. That way you're totally confident in optimizing and scaling it up as well.
Cool. Very cool. I love that. So how can people get in touch with you? How can they follow you on, socials and things like that?
Yeah, so all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, it's the Adman. I think it's a little bit different in each link because of how it was, but the Adman, I'm there. And then my website, MikeTheAdman.com.
MikeTheAdman.com. Cool. Does anybody actually call you that, or do they just call you Mike?
Yeah, they just call me Mike. I just came up with it because it sounded kind of catchy.
Yeah, I love it. It's good. So awesome. Well, thank you, Mike, for being here, being a guest, and for offering the value to listeners and viewers alike. So appreciate you for that. And to anybody watching, of course, if you are watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, pass it along to a friend if you think they could use anything that you've heard today. If you've taken some tidbits from this episode and you think anybody that you know could stand to hear it, then certainly pass that along. And if you're listening on your favorite audio platform, don't forget to leave us a review. We love reviews, whether you think it's great or you think we have something to work on, let us know. And also, thank you just so much for being here, for taking the time, listening, and being with us here today. So thank you all so, so much. And as always, I will catch you on the next one.
To learn more about how to tell your story, connect with Nell at enticingmedia.com. That's ENTICEING media.com. Thanks for listening to the What the Nell podcast.